The land we know today as Israel and Palestine has a history as rich and layered as a baklava. For millennia, it's been a crossroads of civilizations, a place where empires rose and fell, leaving their mark on the culture and the very soul of the region. We're talking ancient Egyptians, Philistines. Yup, they were real. Israelites, Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans, and many more. Each group added their own flavor to the mix, creating a diverse and vibrant society. You had Jews, Christians, and Muslims living side by side, often in a state of uneasy peace. But hey, that's shared history for you. It wasn't always sunshine and hummus, but this blend of cultures is what makes the region so fascinating and complex. Fast forward to the late 19th century and the Ottoman Empire, the last of these great powers, is starting to crumble. Like a tired old baklava, it was past its prime. This is where our story really begins, with the land and its people caught in the middle of a geopolitical tug-of-war. The end of the Ottoman Empire created a vacuum, and as we know, nature abhors a vacuum, especially when there's valuable real estate involved. Enter the British, stage left, with their own set of ambitions and a promise to the Jewish people that would change everything.
Picture this: 1917, World War I is raging, and the British, ever the strategists, are looking for a way to secure their interests in the Middle East. They make a deal, or rather a declaration, that throws more fuel on an already smoldering fire. This, my friends, is the Balfour Declaration. In a nutshell, the declaration promised to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which at the time was still under Ottoman control. Now, this might seem like a nice gesture, and hey, who doesn't love a good housewarming? But there was a slight problem. Palestine was already home to a large Arab population. You see, the declaration conveniently forgot to mention anything about ensuring the rights of the existing inhabitants. It's like promising someone a room in your house without telling them your family already lives there. Awkward. To make matters more complicated, after World War I, the League of Nations, the precursor to the United Nations, gave Great Britain a mandate to govern Palestine. This is how you say colonialism in a fancy way. The stage was set for a clash of aspirations and identities that would have far-reaching consequences.
1948, a pivotal year. This is when things get really messy, like a hummus spill at a peace summit. After World War II and the Holocaust, the world felt immense sympathy for the Jewish people. The horrors they endured were unspeakable, and the push for a Jewish state gained even more momentum. On May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence, fulfilling the Zionist dream of a Jewish homeland. But for Palestinians, this day marked the beginning of a nightmare, the Nakba, which translates to catastrophe in Arabic. Imagine being forced from your home, your land, everything you've ever known, all because someone else claims it as their own. That's what happened to over 700,000 Palestinians during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. They were driven out or fled their homes, becoming refugees in neighboring countries, their lives shattered. The war ended with Israel controlling more territory than the United Nations had originally allocated for a Jewish state. This victory came at a heavy price, leaving scars on both sides that remain to this day.
Fast forward to 1967, tensions are high, whispers of war fill the air, and then, boom! The Six-Day War erupts, a conflict so swift and decisive it would make a cheetah blush. In less than a week, Israel defeats its Arab neighbors, Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, and seizes even more land. This victory reshaped the map of the Middle East. Israel now controlled the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. Suddenly, a whole new generation of Palestinians found themselves living under Israeli occupation, their lives restricted, their movements controlled. The Six-Day War was a turning point, not just in terms of territory but also in terms of narrative. Israel, once seen as the underdog, was now a regional power. The Palestinians, meanwhile, faced the daunting reality of occupation and displacement, their dream of a state seemingly even further out of reach.
Section 5. A Dream Deferred. The elusive quest for peace. Over the decades, there have been countless attempts to broker peace in the Middle East. Think of it like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Possible, maybe, but incredibly difficult. There were secret back channels, high-profile summits, and handshakes that made history. The Oslo Accords in the 1990s, for example, offered a glimmer of hope. For the first time, Israelis and Palestinians sat down face to face, recognizing each other's right to exist. But just like that hopeful first date, things quickly went south. The accords failed to address key issues, like the status of Jerusalem, the plight of Palestinian refugees, and the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Violence flared up, trust eroded, and the peace process stalled faster than a camel in a sandstorm.
Section 6. Life under occupation, Gaza and the West Bank. Imagine living in a place where your every move is monitored, where checkpoints and walls restrict your freedom, where economic opportunities are scarce and the threat of violence is ever present. That's the reality for millions of Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza. The West Bank, home to ancient cities and fertile farmland, is now dotted with Israeli settlements, considered illegal under international law. These settlements, along with the separation barrier, have carved up the West Bank into a series of disconnected enclaves, making everyday life for Palestinians a logistical nightmare. Gaza, a small coastal strip densely packed with people, has been under Israeli blockade for over a decade. Imagine a place with chronic electricity shortages, limited access to clean water, and an economy in ruins. It's a humanitarian crisis, a ticking time bomb. The situation in Gaza and the West Bank is a stark reminder of the human cost of this conflict. It's a reminder that peace is not just about signing agreements. It's about creating a just and livable reality for all people.
Section 7. A world divided, international perspectives and impasse. The Palestinian issue is like that awkward family dinner where everyone has an opinion but nobody agrees on what to order. The international community is divided, with different countries and organizations holding varying views on the conflict. Some support a two-state solution, believing that the only way to achieve lasting peace is to establish an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. Others argue for a single, binational state where Israelis and Palestinians live together as equal citizens. Then there are those who believe that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state and that Palestinians should seek a homeland elsewhere. This view, often rooted in historical and religious claims, ignores the reality of the situation on the ground and the rights of Palestinians who call this land home. The lack of consensus within the international community has created a stalemate, making it difficult to find a solution that satisfies all parties. It's like trying to herd cats, except the cats are diplomats and the stakes are much higher.
Section 8. The Path Forward, Understanding for a Shared Future. So there you have it, a crash course in the Palestinian issue, a conflict as old as time, or at least as old as this century. It's a complicated mess, with blame to go around like a plate of hummus at a family reunion. But here's the thing. Understanding is the first step towards empathy, and empathy is crucial for any hope of a resolution. It's easy to get bogged down in the blame game, to pick a side and dig in your heels. But the truth is, there's enough suffering to go around. Whether you're Israeli or Palestinian living in Tel Aviv or Ramallah, your life is touched by this conflict. The only way forward is through dialogue, through understanding the other side's narrative, even if you don't agree with it. It's about recognizing the humanity of those on the other side of the checkpoint, the other side of the wall, the other side of the political divide. Maybe, just maybe, if we can start to see each other as human beings, we can start to build a future where Israelis and Palestinians can coexist, not just in peace, but with dignity and respect. Now, wouldn't that be something?